I work as a DoorDash driver, and I think my last delivery was alive. It was supposed to be an easy, part-time delivery job. I would make a few extra bucks, help pay my rent, pay down some credit card debt. But for a job delivering food, things went from mundane to dangerous, remarkably fast. I worked very early morning hours in a warehouse and would get off work fairly early in the day. I had not planned on getting a second job at all. The pay was decent, but when my roommate left me high and dry to move in with his girlfriend without notice, I was left in a financial lurch. That was when I decided to look for an easy part-time delivery job to get into. It wound up being DoorDash or Uber, and I figured I would rather deliver food than people. So I signed up. When I started, the pay was not great. I suppose when you decide your own hours, it can get messy. I thought it would work around my other job schedule, so it was the best I could do. Honestly, if that was the only problem, it would have been fine. But the customers? Now that is where it gets disturbing. I know a lot of delivery drivers deal with weird folks, but when food is involved, it makes most people even more intolerable. Most customers are fine, but the people I have been working with for the last few weeks, well, let's just say if I make the wrong move now, things might get bad. Very bad, now that I know what I know. I have been at this for a month now, and the first 2 weeks delivering had been uneventful. Draining and tedious, but uneventful. I live in a fairly small town, so there was not a lot of deliveries available on the average night. Though with how small it was, I was surprised how many people would still use the app for delivery. I was lucky in that sense, and it seemed like barely any other people were delivering here. With no competition, I got a decent number of deliveries at first, though most of the people were on the older side and lousy tippers, regardless of how the service was. I was still struggling and starting to get disheartened. I thought I might need a different job to help cover the gap and pay my rent until I could get a new roommate. Then I accepted a delivery that changed it all. It was a delivery to a small retirement home near the outskirts of town. I was not expecting much since many of the older clients were stingy and demanding, so I went to retrieve the order. Most of the deliveries I made were from the few restaurants we had in town, as well as some fast food places that were close. This delivery was from a curious little Greek place that had just opened up a month earlier. It was called Phagis, and served some classic Greek food with a twist. From the ratings I had seen, it was pretty popular so far. I figured I was going to be getting a lot more orders from this place. I arrived as soon as I could to the small restaurant. It was a fairly dingy building, not much polish had been put into the grand opening, and I was surprised by the state it was in. I walked past the sign and saw a name in Greek on the sign in smaller font. Phagos. Then in larger font, the name of the restaurant, Phagis. I stepped inside and heard the ringing of a smell bell. I waited for someone to come to the counter and looked around a bit. The dining area was very small and no customers were currently there. Inside, the place did look nice and tidy. The decor was not bad either, and the vibe seemed right for the type of restaurant it seemed like. I saw they even had a lot of classical paintings on the walls, and I admired the effort put into making it look good. Though the Goya, of Saturn or Kronos in Greek, eating his children on the wall was a bit off-putting, especially considering it was right by what looked like the kitchen. For having just opened, I was surprised it was not as busy inside, but I guess if people were grabbing to-go orders, it was more work for me, so I wouldn't complain. As I looked around, the pervasive smell struck me. I like Greek food, but nothing in there smelled like that. It had a sickly sweet aroma. It was just odd enough where I could not decide if it smelled appealing or disgusting. And the few other scents I noted, I could not quite describe at all. My musings were cut short when a small woman emerged from the kitchen and locked eyes on me. She looked ancient and weathered, but the gleam in her eyes possessed an energy that belied her age. She was scrutinizing me as I approached, and I suddenly felt a disturbing sensation. Before the awkward silence lingered any longer, she suddenly smiled and greeted me. "Are you the driver?" I nodded my head and she looked thrilled. Yes, good. My name is Anthropos, but my friends just call me Annie. Welcome. I am so glad you will be working with us. Please let me get you something for the trouble before you head out. She was already moving past me to grab some items from the counter, and I tried to tell her not to worry, and I had to go, but she would not hear it. In a few minutes, she had made me a tasty little flatbread snack and was crooning over me like a protective mother figure. "Thank you so much, ma'am, but I do need to head out with that delivery." She nodded her head and smiled and placed her hand to her head. "Oh yes, of course. I am sorry, I just love to serve people. It should be ready now. You wait here and I will go get it." I sat on the small bench by the front door to wait. In another moment she was back, holding a large box that almost tottered out of her grip. I I rushed over to help her, and she thanked me again. "Now this is a special order for you. Take to our friends at the retirement home. Talk to Demos. He will take the delivery. Only give the box to Demos. Do not leave it there unless he is there to take it." She handed me the large box, and when I hefted it, I was amazed that she could carry it. It felt like it weighed almost 100 pounds. She seemed very nice, but something about the entire place seemed a bit off. I had never delivered such a giant order of food before, and it was strange it was in a crate that looked more in common with the freight I moved in my day job than it did a food delivery. The smell was strange too. Not bad, but it was that same sweet smell from before. I felt like it was just off enough to make it less appealing, like it had too much of one ingredient to cover something else up. I supposed it did not matter, and I went on my way to make the delivery. My destination was the Pickman's Green retirement home. It was nice from what I had seen of the outside, but I had never been in personally. I was already dreading the more onerous customers who would be upset by some problem with the food and just give next to nothing for a tip. But I moved on, and in about 10 minutes I was there. I arrived in good time and rang the bell at the reception desk. I waited for a response, but nothing came. I was about to leave the food there, but I remembered my instructions and waited. Eventually, a nurse emerged from an office in the back. She moved towards me, and I saw her name was Nancy. She was very pretty, and I smiled at her when she regarded me. "Good evening. Visiting hours are over now, but is there something else I can help you with?" "Yes, please. I am looking for Demos. I am supposed to drop this food off for him and hopefully however many folks he is going to share with." I chuckled at the notion of one person getting the giant crate of food. But instead of relaxing, the woman stared at me for a moment with a nervous look in her eyes. "Demos? Yes. One moment, I will get him." I waited around until an older man emerged the back. He looked angry and stared at me for a moment before regarding the nurse. "This is him? You said he was asking for me?" The young nurse nodded and looked concerned. The situation felt weirdly tense for a simple delivery, and I was not sure what to say. He looked back at me, then the crate, and scowled. I just decided to declare myself. "Yes, I have your DoorDash delivery. Annie at Vegas said to give it directly to you and not just leave it." I watched his reaction, and he looked weirdly mistrustful. Eventually, he just nodded his head and brushed past me. To my surprise, he effortlessly hefted the box up and left. He had not acknowledged me at all. I called out to him, "What about?" The nurse stepped in front of me and had a very fake smile plastered on her face. "Here is your tip. Thank you again." I took the small envelope she had handed me, and I was about to ask if they needed anything else, before she told me to leave since they would be locking up for the night. I thought it was odd, but I did not want to stay there any longer than I had to anyway. I left the building and went back to my car. As I sat down, I figured I would see how they managed to shortchange me. They had selected the cash tip option, and I had a feeling that in this case, somehow it would screw me over. That Demos guy looked like a real bastard, and I figured it might not be cash at all but an angry note. It turned out I was wrong. Not only was it cash, but the envelope held $800. I had to do a double take and recount it, but it was the same amount again. I had no idea why the hell they had given me so much money, though I did see a small piece of paper mixed in with the stack of $100 bills. I unfolded it and was confused by what it said. "Take this and do not come back. Do not take any more delivery jobs here, for your sake." I thought it was so strange. Someone was warning me not to do any more deliveries for them by giving me a bunch of cash as a tip. If anything, it was even more incentive to do so, but I did wonder why someone would put it there. I was foolish enough to believe at the time that it was because someone else might want to be saving those deliveries to get the huge tips for themselves. I wish that had been why. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for part 2.